Buenas chicos, ¿se me escucha? A ver, dame un momento. Dame un momento. Vale, sí, se me escucha. Lo que no se escucha es el streaming. Ahí está. Vamos a ver el directo de la Reina. A ver lo que enseñan. Con mi reacción a todo. Y hablaremos un poco de lo que es la Reina en general. Y vamos a ver lo que nos enseñan y lo que nos transmiten. Vamos a ver qué tal. 29 segundos, ¿eh? Y empieza. Tin, tin. Vale, voy a centrar esto un poquito más. Y ya está. Vamos a ver qué tal. Subirle un poquito el volumen. Queda poco ya, ¿eh? Queda poco ya. Tin, tin. Vale, estoy poniendo esto mejor. Para que podáis verlo lo mejor posible. Vale. Ahí está. Debería empezar dentro de nada, ¿eh? Debería empezar dentro de nada. A ver qué tal. Tiqui, 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 tiqui. ¡Ojo! ¡Ojo! ¿No se escucha nada?
Oh no, oh no. Okay, I just found out I was muted. Can you hear me now? Sound good, everyone? Yes. Yes, there we go. Perfect.
A ver qué dicen.
As I was saying, good morning, everyone, depending where you are. Good afternoon, good day, good night.
Por la tarde.
I'm Edwards, the community director. I'm joined here by men today. We're doing a special La Reina in the Making stream focused entirely on audio. Men, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'll be here with Atlas today. We're going to be talking audio and some cool stuff about Lorena and behind scenes of her, kinda, in a way. Starting to talk about this, so it's going to be pretty good. It's going to be pretty fun.
Yeah. This will be fun. We're doing just a little PNG avatars today. No mics, and we're gonna just focus on some behind the scenes stuff. The series in general, Lorena's a really interesting character. to introduce for us because we're normally very secretive about like the characters that are coming up. We don't want to reveal anything until the actual reveal trailer comes out. So I want to give some background for people about why we're talking about a character that's not even a confirmed release date yet, and she has like no known actual window. This is because she's
Vale, solo van a hablar del personaje.
part of our workshop contest. So we released an article on this just this week to talk about.
No van a enseñar, no van a decir qué día sale ni nada de eso.
So this was a contest we started in 2023, and this was to take a character from the Rivals 1 workshop community, and the winner will eventually become a full-fledged character in Rivals 2. And this is similar to how we did the original workshop 4 in Rivals, where we bought the characters from the winner, and like we're gonna actually turn them into a full-fledged like Aether character. They work into the lore, they work into the whole world in the game, and so it's kind of like this whole process we're gonna lay out.
Están trabajando en el lore de la reina para meternos en el mundo de Aether.
And we can share some steps along the way. So today is sound design, and we're talking about voice acting as well, and other audio stuff. But we're gonna hit gameplay design, 3D modeling and character design, animation, narrative, and trailer stuff as the reveal bracket's coming up. So yeah, it'll be a fun rest of the year because you already know that Galvin is the last character for this year. So Galvin's cooking. We're still gonna be talking about him on most of the dev streams.
Van a hablar de Galvan también.
A little fewer and farther between. But yeah, that's the background. Let me mute myself. I'll play the trailer, and then we'll get back into things. This is just again the actual contest reveal trailer from back when the contest ended.
A ver, el concept trailer si lo pueden enseñar. Ahí está. Van a enseñar el concept trailer.
More original characters in Rivals 2? Do you think the community can do a better job than us at moving the genre forward? Well, we gave creators that chance with the Rivals 2 Steam Workshop contest. Creators had 6 months to create an original character, with the winner being officially added to Rivals 2. Our development team played and reviewed over 80 submissions and ranked our favorites based on gameplay, visuals, and lore. Along with our winner, we chose 4 honorable mentions. Helios, the Unstoppable Piece.
Helio. A mí este no me gustó mucho, la verdad.
Owatsu, the
Awatsu es mi favorito de todos, sinceramente. Me encanta Awatsu. Lo he jugado bastante.
Sakuno, the Carrier's Honor.
Yo no, la verdad que no me gusta mucho. Pero sí que es verdad que está, me gusta más que Awatsu.
The Golden
O sea, que me gusta más que el primero, no Awatsu. Ese estaba guay, pero no me gusta mucho.
And the winner of our contest is
La Reina.
Reina, the Crowd Magnet.
Ganó la Reina.
Wrestler won over both fans and our team.
A mí me hubiera gustado que hubiera ganado Awatsu, la verdad.
Wait to translate her grappling style to Rivals 2. We have just begun development on Lorena.
Mira eso.
Don't expect her soon. There are other characters already in development who will be joining before her. We are so happy with how this contest went, and we plan to keep embracing our amazing community going forward.
Y ya está, ahí está el tráiler.
All right. Yes, it's actually so cool to see those characters again because there were so many cool characters in the contest. They're awesome.
Awatsu mola mucho.
Deserve to be highlighted. I'll take I see a couple chat questions that are interesting enough to answer real quick, but it will focus on some just chatting with him and I, and then we'll do some more chat ones as well later. So we'll get like a good flow. Where not everything's coming from chat, but some of it is. I wanted to say, some people were asking, was Galvin already planned before La Reina was picked? Because they're like, hey, they're both kind of magnetic characters. And actually, Galvin was already in the works. So as in at least in the design world. So yeah, this is interesting, but that's part of the challenge of something coming from the community, right? It doesn't slot directly into our plans, but it's fun, and part of that, how we adapt it, will literally be part of this story, right? Of how it fits in to the characters and all that stuff.
Yeah, and she was good enough. So we wanted two magnet characters.
Yeah, exactly. She was just definitely the dev team's overwhelming pick. But yeah, cool. Okay. So we're gonna get into it, and this is gonna be kind of like two parts, everyone viewing. So we're gonna talk about just designing the character from the audio and sound for games and stuff, because Mend is a wizard. He's amazing. His work on Moonsailor and all our audio stuff for the game. So it's cool to actually do a dev focus stream that's pretty not too technical, but I just want to get into like some of the high level concept stuff too that we don't always talk about. So yeah.
Should we start by introducing who makes the audio?
Yeah, please do.
I'm here representing more people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, talk a little bit about how audio slots into a game in our studio.
So, the audio, technically speaking, is very technically speaking, because in practice it does work a little bit differently, but technically audio is kind of outsourced in either studios, and we have two sister studios that are making the audio. So we have there's an echo mic, George, apparently. Yeah. The chat is.
Alright, let me see if I can figure out the echo, everyone, before things get...
Creo que el de la derecha es el diseñador de audio que salió en el tráiler de Galvan. Creo.
Okay, let's keep going and chat.
Yeah, I didn't change anything, so just let us know if it's back. Oh, it's back. Okay, interesting.
Oh, it seems like it's when you talk, so maybe you're gonna need to mute yourself when I'm talking.
Voy a ir por agua, creo que ahora mismo están arreglando cositas del audio, así que ahora vengo.
We'll do our best, everyone. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so we have two studios that are working on the game, Moonsailor and Reservoirs. Moonsailor is responsible for sound design, for technical sound design, which is my area of expertise. I'm the main technical sound designer in the game, and also part of the music. Essentially, every music that is new for the game, so like the wind jingles, the new music for the stages, and some of the trailer music for newer characters are made by Moonsailor, and then remixes of older tracks are made by Reservoirs, and Reservoirs is the studio of Flashy Goodness that also made music and audio for the first Rivals of Aether game. And basically there's some people that work on both studios, so that's why I say they're sister studios, but they're technically different entities, and both of them are working together in Rivals of Aether 2 to make the sounds of the game, the music and sound and everything. So yeah, I'm the one who's most closer, like I work closer to the team because I'm here basically full time at this point, making the bridge and interaction, and I'm probably the one you're going to see more on Discord and other things, but there's a lot of people behind, a lot of hands went to the audio and music of the game, and just wanted to start shouting out that fact to like a lot of people. So yeah, you can see everyone in the credits for the game if you're curious about that too.
Yeah, heck yeah. It's a really talented team, and definitely a lot of people that deserve to get spotlighted. Check out the credits. Also, our credits sequence might be like one of the longest credits sequence in gaming because it has all the Kickstarter backers, which is like 25,000 people. But the audio team is before that, so you don't have to wait like the 10-15 minutes for it to scroll through the Kickstarter backers. I just realized also we're gonna like put on. Let me see what I got here.
¿Qué yo?
Do you want to see more original
I'm gonna-
characters in Rivals 2?
playing this one again.
Do you
La música, la música. Ah, no. Hostia, tú, creí que me habían enseñado algo.
I'm putting on
Pero no.
some highlights here. Here we go. Here we go. Everyone, let me know that's playing right. This is our version of Temple Run. This is from Collision just last weekend. But Men and I aren't playing Rivals against each other because we can't play and talk at the same time. It's hard, and we know you guys need something to watch that's moving. So you know, we're keeping the younger audience in mind. Anyway,
Puede ser que no enseñen nada ahí, solo
intentionally no.
vayan a hablar del tema.
Because we're gonna, there's casters over these highlights, so the commentators will be interrupting us. So anyway, that's rolling now. So yeah, let me start at the start, I guess. So Reina is interesting, right? Because she's already been signed by Onyx and Savvy. So she already had audio and visuals and all this stuff. So how did you guys in the sound team begin the process for a character like this? So there's a couple things like the fidelity is going up, right? Because it's now this 3D different game than the pixel art game, but also just from the start, I guess, having a character that's designed, how do you take that already and turn it into your own goals and motifs and stuff for a character?
Yeah, I think one of the main things that we do when we start a character that technically already exists is that we're gonna look at how they sound in their original game. This also counts for Fleet, even though she wasn't a Rivals of Aether 1 character. So we also looked at her in Dungeons of Aether. We made her audio in Dungeons of Aether as well, so that also helped. I think Pepe, the one who made Fleet for Rivals 2, was also the person doing sound effects, sound design for Dungeons. So that also
Básicamente están diciendo
helped.
que al ser un personaje que ya ha salido de normal, ¿vale?
Sounds in the first game, there are
De
good
momento.
reference.
Al ser un personaje que ya ha salido de normal, le tienen más fácil hacer el sonido, porque ya salió en Rivals 1. Están hablando, comparándolo con Fleet, que ellos hicieron el sonido del Gracias of Aether. Entonces fue para ellos más fácil hacerlo a Fleet porque ya tenían hecho el audio en el juego original, el Dungeons of Aether.
Those games are very different in terms of environment and sound in general. The sounds in the first game, they're retro sound in general. Also, the music is retro sound, so that makes an environment that is very different from the second game. And a lot of times when we try to go too close to Rivals 1, we run into certain problems where it's like they just stand out a lot compared to the rest of the sounds in the game. I think Absa had a lot of this problem of like, hey, we wanted Absa to be very close to her Rivals 1 incarnation, and then sometimes you would like really stick close to the references there, and we would put in the game and they would like stand out a lot compared to the rest, to the point of sometimes being kind of annoying. So first time is taking the spirit of the first game and imagine, okay, how can we get that to the next game without sounding too different. Also, sounds are simpler in Rivals 1 in general. It's like animations are sometimes faster and snappier, and sounds are kind of go to a simpler route. And sounds in the second game can be quite a bit more complex in terms of layering, in terms of being high fidelity, being more quote-unquote realistic. Those sounds in Rivals 2 are not necessarily on the realistic side, but yeah. So the first is we go back to Rivals 1, we see how they sounded there, so we can pay homage to that. We see what is sounding good there, and that we definitely want to keep. Reina has very good chair sounds in the first one, which is the first thing that came to me when taking a look at her. So we definitely want chair sounds to be very satisfying in the second one. So that's the first part. After we do that, we start recording stuff. So we create a palette of sounds recorded, either from sound libraries that we have, or buying shit that we have here and recording. I have bought a steel chair for Lorena, of course.
That's amazing.
So we're definitely gonna record that. I hope the steel chair survives, because it's probably gonna suffer some degree of violence during the recording process. But yeah, that's definitely the first thing. Like, we look at some of the moves and we try to create a palette. And then we draw from that palette to make the sounds of the character with the animations like synced and make them ready to go for the game. And the last portion of the work is usually my main work in the game. That is putting the sounds in the game, putting the sounds in engine and getting ready. So yeah, that's basically the whole process. Sometimes it's made by more than one person. So for example, if we're taking ABSA sound effects were made by Matt. Not the producer Matt from Ether Studios, but the Matt from Moonsailor. Sound designer and Pepe. They both did most of the sounds. I did a few ones, like her taunt and intro. Taunt, intro, and Victor, I think, were the ones I took from Babsa. And then I was the one implementing her in game and also dealing with dialogue and stuff. For Govan, it was all me until now. So Govan was the first character I did entirely on my own for a bunch of reasons.
Galvan ha hecho, lo ha hecho a él entero. Ok. O por su cuenta. Entendido por su cuenta, creo.
How convoluted the process of doing other things in the studio is being at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in parallel development. Alright, that was really cool and thorough. Sorry, I feel like I'm gonna make you just give speeches here, but that was a great answer. In your experience, I guess I would say, just to roll back a little bit to earlier in the process, what distinguishes like a compelling or memorable character in audio terms to you? Like, how important, or obviously voice and themes and stuff is important, but how do you make all of that stuff fit together for all of a character's different moves and turn it into basically one character experience?
One thing, that pre-production phase of recording sounds specifically for that character is a really important part. So then you can draw from a similar palette of sounds. Just like an artist would, like sometimes artists would limit themselves to a certain amount of, to a specific color palette, and that will help make the design more consistent. That also helps with audio. So like, yeah, we're doing, after this initial recording is done and after we have a palette, either with things we did specifically for the character or things that we selected that we're like, hey, this is pretty good. It can be recorded with a mic in the studio. It can be made in synths. It can be taken from libraries and selected and be like, hey, this is gonna be cool for this character. We draw from that palette for most, if not all of their moves, and this helps a lot. I think Olympia is a pretty good example of that, because Olympia has a lot of glass sounds in her kit, and reutilizing the same
Olympia tiene mucho sonidos de cristales. Cristales de verdad, en plan de una ventana mínimo.
Yeah, iconic noise you start to associate with her. Yeah, okay. So for the palette, forgive my ignorance, but are you just going to start bashing stuff with chairs 10 different ways and then pick from those? Is that your easel, your painting board?
So right now for Reina, we have a couple of things that either have been recorded already or I'm gonna start recording soon. So the first thing is the steel chair. It's a very important one. Of course, like, we don't just record the steel chair and put that in the game, because that's gonna sound very weak and not as you imagine a thing sounding. But it's one of the layers that gonna make her steel chair sounds like you're gonna use a real steel chair for that. We have forgot the word. English is escaping me here. Leather. We have leather clothes to use because Lorena is kind of used like a tight-fitting luchador clothes, and those tend to be pretty noisy. So sometimes when she moves, we're gonna have a lot of leather sounds in there as well. Uh, I'm recording some sounds for her feet. We don't have footsteps in the game yet. It's something that we want to have in the future. One day, we definitely want to have it. I've been saying this for a long time, that we want to have footsteps, but it is a really big endeavor, and we can talk more about how big of endeavor footsteps can be for this type of games in the later in the stream. But some of her moves might have like her stepping in the ground or things like that, so we're gonna need steps for her. Another thing that I'm looking at recording is general things that can be used for her hit sounds. Reina will probably be one of the first characters we're gonna introduce custom physical hit sounds. We've been reutilizing blunt hits for a lot of our casts, and this is something that we want to avoid doing in the future to really make those characters unique. So Lorena we're gonna have custom hit sounds for herself, and there's a lot of like slapping sounds, maybe some rope. So like I'm basically opening the toy box here and getting stuff to record. And besides the toy box that I'm gonna record with the mic in the studio, we also have synth layers that we're gonna use with her because she has magnet powers, and she needs to have cool sounding magnet powers that also don't sound like Govan, because we don't want people thinking Lorraine and Govan are the same thing. Kind of helps that Govan has some electric in his VFX for magnetism, and it's not really the same thing with Lorena, so it's gonna help make them more different. Like hers can probably sound more magical than Galvin's.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah,
that's basically the beginning of the process. Like this is what's happening with Lorena right now. The truth is, you go record stuff, you open the toy box, you see what you have lying around, and you go like, hey, can I use this? Is this gonna sound good? Or sometimes you just bash things around, see what sound they make, and then afterwards you're like, hey, this is pretty useful. No, this is useless. I'm not gonna use it. So that's basically the process at first. It's like it's better when at the beginning I like to take the time, like as much time as we have, as we can afford to do that, because it makes the process easier afterwards. Like if you have a very defined palette, you can just like when you're actually making the moves, like when you're actually finishing the sounds, the process goes much smoothly compared to not doing that.
yeah, that's a really good note. Just in general, I was gonna say in games, but in all kind of creative endeavors, like pre-production, it's just so important. Because I knew what you meant, obviously, by a palette, like the concept of a palette makes sense, but it's just cool to hear you lay out all this stuff, that the things that go into that, because you're saying it's just a toy box and you're bagging stuff, but there's a lot of thought that goes into it, the clothing and the way like the character's body moves and steps and all this stuff. So yeah, it's really neat to hear. I guess another question on this line is how much does this is more about the studio in general, since we talk about pre-production and planning and things like that. Just game design is very collaborative. So how do things work between designers, gameplay-wise, and artists and stuff when we're developing a character, right? Like, how much does that play personally into our process, and what stage does audio come into that? I think we know a little bit that it's obviously later down the line in this case, because you said like, hey, we want to spend as much time as we can thinking about the palette and things like that. But yeah, I guess just tell us a little bit about how the collaborative creative process works.
I think the beginning of the process is something that other people can say better about than me. Turning the character into art, animating, VFX, and everything else. But audio is really one of the last parts of the process. it's kind of sad that audio is one of the last parts of the process. Like, you can get some things done even before the character is finished, but a lot of things need to be finished for audio to actually be able to get to the sounds and start finishing them. But I think the main thing is that we really do need like animations, we really do need VFX, and there's a lot of interaction between audio and those parts. Like, actually, when we prepare ourselves to become good sound designers, knowing a little bit about animation, like the principles, and trying to understand what is what animation is trying to convey in terms of rhythm and feel is really important, and VFX as well. And there's a lot of interaction in the studio actually. Like, the first thing that I get when I start a character is Dan makes a video for me introducing the character and what he thinks about the character and what happens. And after this, there's a lot of interaction between me, Dan, and Trevor to create the sounds. But also, it's not unusual for there being interaction between audio and animation and VFX. Like, so sometimes I have some requests for the animation thing. Hey, can you change this maybe? Can you do something slightly different so audio can do a better job here punctuating? Or maybe VFX, hey, can you add something here because we want to have a sound at this point and there's no VFX that can support a sound. And often this is done for game design reasons more than anything. Like, sometimes it's just because we can't make a compelling
Voy a esperar a
audio
que
with
digan
what we
algo
have,
relevante y si no
because
dicen nada
there's
relevante
something
no comento por si
missing
acaso.
from that regard, and then we just like, hey, can you add something? But sometimes it's just like, hey, players need to react to this faster, and sound would be a great way of doing it. But we need something that we can, like, some visual cue that we can put audio on. And also, technically, this double. Like, you have now a visual cue, and you also have the sound cue, so it gets even better. So there's a lot of interaction in terms of like collaboration. Even audio being one of the last parts of the character creation, there's still a lot of space for collaboration between different areas.
Oh, makes perfect sense. We'll take a couple questions from chat, everyone, and then we're gonna go into talking more about the voice acting side, which Moon Sailor and Rezo Force are also in charge of. And we just put out casting call. I'm sure people have seen, so we'll talk about that. But there was a couple I saw in chat that were interesting about just this game dev stuff. One was asking if we have any ideas, and are we going to bring back like the crowd sounds, the stuff related to like her posing, like because she does all this stylistic stuff in the Rivals 1 version of her. And are you gonna basically, how are you gonna treat that kind of sound? Because that's something that's like not from the character itself. It's a little different than other characters have.
Yeah, I want Reina to have a lot of personality in her sound, so crown sounds are definitely coming back. Because they're definitely something that gonna differentiate her from other heavies. Like, she needs to be a character that seems like she's performing on a stage kind of theatrically, which is the thing with luchadores as well, so it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, no, crown sounds are definitely coming back, for sure. And maybe other things that are not like, that are more on the theatrical side, they might be coming with her as well.
Yeah, awesome. I see chat going like, it's essential, you must. And it was a question from chat, guys. I think we agreed on the dev team that she always needed that. But I wanted to let you know that it is definitely coming. Another question from chat was asking just something technical. What kind of tools do we use to do the audio work you're talking about?
Well, there's a couple of them, but
yeah, you don't have to get too deep, but maybe just.
I'm gonna do the answer that is like the default answer nowadays for working with audio and game audio. Reaper is the best software you can use. because it's a cheap software. You have technically an endless trial, so though you should pay because it is very cheap. If you are actually using it professionally, it's really good to pay it. They have two options. Like they have an option where it's dirty cheap, and then if you're making a lot of money with Reaper, you have another license that is slightly more expensive, but it's still cheap. So it's a great software. It's great for collaboration. I'm not using Reaper yet for many reasons, and because I am very used to Studio One Pro, and that's the main software that I use on my day-to-day work. And we also use, like on a very, very more technical side, we use Fmod for implementing sounds into the game. And that's also one of the main parts of my work, but that's like after the sounds are done for making sounds getting to the game. That's what we used. But yeah, if you want to try game audio, learn Reaper. Don't do like me. Reaper is great.
I always love when that's advice. Like, oh, I made like all of my game in Game Maker, and they're like, please don't copy me.
Yeah, there's a lot of softwares that work for this. So like, it's not like if you're using another one, it's not gonna work. They're equally capable. Reaper just has a lot of productivity and collaboration things that are there, and it's also very customizable in terms of workflow. So for sound design and voice dialogue work, Reaper is amazing. For music, maybe not so much. For music, you can use anything nowadays. There's not really anything. Also, there's a question if we use a middleware like WISE or Fmod, and I kind of answered this one already. It's Fmod that we're using.
Okay, palate cleanser question. The chat asked if you like Korean barbecue chicken.
I never tried it, and maybe I'm losing. Like, maybe I lost years of my life not knowing the delicacy that is Korean barbecue chicken. So, chat, should I try it?
Someone's like, I just arrived. That's the first thing they hear. That's great. Yes, chat says yes.
Okay, I'll look for that.
Dev stream mukbang next time. Okay, let's move into voice acting because we're trying to fit this to about an hour. And someone asked one more thing too. Someone asked if we had anything to show today. I don't believe we do audio-wise, but let me know if that's wrong. But that also wasn't the plan because we're pretty early. Like I said, talking about Reina, there's still a whole other character coming out this year. So we're going to do a little more talking in the beginning of this series than showing, just so it's not like there's two characters coming out at once. But I think in the next month, we'll have some models and some animations and stuff to show on the stream. But today, that's why we're playing just another video in the background, because audio is harder to show, especially early when we're talking about getting into the dev. Okay, cool. Yeah. So let me flip over real quick to our back to my. I'm gonna pause the collision and show our.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions on footsteps. We're gonna talk about footsteps before the stream ends.
Okay.
But let's go for voice acting.
Okay.
But we definitely go
quick
back
run
to
through
that.
voice acting, and then the footsteps definitely hit like a. People are excited if we can talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for Reina, we put out a casting call on our actual studio Twitter here. We said, hey, we're casting, we're looking for a female voice actress, speaks both English and Spanish, Mexican accent preferred to match your immature inspirations. And then we have hi@moonsailor.com, this casting call. So people have been asking like, hey, why did we decide to do this publicly this time? And yeah, like, what are we looking for, and what can you tell us about the casting process in general that's interesting?
Yeah, there are different ways we cast people, but generally for Rivals, it's been that's been pretty interesting, because sometimes we've had voice actors coming to us in the past, and we kind of created a sort of bank of talents that we have been going through for the last few characters. So it was the case with May, it was the case with Kevin for Forceburn and others. And sometimes we go after them using different means and contacts and knowledge we have. It's usually a more secretive process because we don't want to leak the character. We don't want the character people knowing that the character is public. But the VAs did what? No, they contacted us. Be like,
Vale.
"Hey, here's my
Voy a explicar
demo
aquí una
and
cosa.
I would love to work."
Han hablado, o sea, han dicho que están casteando, o sea, estaban buscando a gente para hacer la voz de la reina y han enseñado unas imágenes bastante guays de la reina nuevas, como algunos conceptos, pero poco más.
For Reina, like we had for some other characters. I think Absa was one of the characters that we have like a very specific person in mind. We still had some people casting, not only May, but May was the first person who came to mind for Absa. And same thing for Govan. Govan's a pretty interesting case. Govan was a work together with Monster Factory, which is a studio. I think they're based in Canada, and they do monster voices for games and for movies, and they're amazing at it. And Govan, we went in contact with them because we knew them already. But Lorena, we didn't have anyone in mind, and we were like, hey, we can do something special here. And usually what we do is we make first a casting. Sometimes we request people to send us demos of them playing the character. And we evaluate those demos, we select them internally in the studio. And after that's done, we have a recording session, usually. Most characters at this point have had at least one big recording session for the whole thing, like trailer lines that they might possibly have, taunts, victory lines, and general grunts. Most of the time, not always, but most of the times we might need it like a second smaller session for skin lines that is usually done later because there's a lot of things to record in the first session, so we usually focus on that. And after that is done, there's some dialogue editing that happens. So we take the session, we cut everything, then we prepare those to make a selection in game. So we usually have more material than we actually get to use. And we select those sounds, we put that in game, the voiceover, and then it's wrapped up. Sometimes we have characters that have more processing on their voices, like I think Craig is a good example, and Govan, of course, because he's a monster. Forceburn also have quite a bit of distortion in his voice as well to really give that raspy feeling on his voice. And then it's done. That's basically the process. And we've been receiving some applicants for Reina. I think we got quite a few of them already, but please let your friends know if you know someone that would be interested. If you know a name of someone to recommend as well, like you can answer in the Twitter post or maybe even send an email to us to recommend someone. Thank you for... I want to thank the community for engaging into this. It's been pretty interesting seeing the auditions, and I'm really hoping to see more. This time I'm gonna answer everyone that sends an email, so like even if you're not chosen, like I'll take some time to answer every single person that sent us an email, so there's that. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, what would you, I guess, quick sidebar, I mean, you talked about it a little already, but what would you recommend? I think since this one, how it is open and a little different, not super different, but like we're gonna have more amateur and intermediate level people that are applying. So what would you recommend they include, like in their email if it's their first time trying to get into voice acting?
Yeah, letting us know what type of equipment and recording environment you have is really important because we need a certain baseline of quality. We can kind of infer some of that by the quality of the demo that the person sends, but it's always nice when they have this explicitly. We don't necessarily only work with only people with super high-end stuff, especially because we do remote recording sessions. We also like, but we want like we have a baseline of quality that we want to ensure. So knowing that is well, it's nice. If you want to do a recording specifically for Reina, that's good. Some people ask for lines to make a read. We might update the post with some lines, example lines of Reina if you want like to do actually reading it as Reina. But it's also fine if you send a demo of your work, like of fast works and stuff. You don't need to necessarily do specifically for Reina at this point. But if you do, extra points in a way. So yeah, that's what I would do, and be respectful, and that's all. I think.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's always awesome to hear from someone that's really experienced in the industry, because I know that's an interesting place for a lot of people to start is something like this. You see a post on a board and you're like, I'm gonna go for it. So someone asked, I mean, we're not gonna hold you to this. I think but someone asked in chat, do we have an idea of like when we're gonna complete the casting?
When I get free enough to get out of Dan's basement and look at everyone, make a pre-selection, send things to the devs so the team can give their inputs as well, and then we're gonna talk with the person and.
A ver, comento, están diciendo que quieren a una persona, mujer, preferiblemente con acento mexicano, para hacer la voz de la reina. Y quieren castear a una persona tal que así, que sepa español, que sepa inglés, que sea mujer y que tenga preferiblemente acento mexicano. Así que veremos a ver qué voz ponen.
I was talking about baseline of quality of recording and all, but like even if you have a demo reel that you made, but you don't have a lot of experience, that's not necessarily something that will hold you back, because May first game experience was in Rivals and she did a pretty good job. So like we're gonna evaluate the material you send us and not necessarily like if you are or not experienced in voicing games.
Yeah, that's a
No,
good
that
one.
also counts, of course, but don't be discouraged if you don't have actual experience.
Awesome. I see chat battling over the language she'll speak in. We are hoping for someone that can do both, Spanish and English. Anyway, we're about 10 minutes till the end. You want to get into the footstep conversation, and then maybe we'll end with some chat questions?
Yes, let's do it, because
Cool.
there were a lot of questions about footsteps. I think people are very excited about this. I'm also excited about this. Footsteps are something that I think give a lot of characters personality in a lot of ways, especially because usually, especially in 3D games, when we're doing footsteps for characters, we're not only doing the step sound of like the shoes in the terrain, but one thing that we usually do that is pretty interesting is other foley sounds that are together in the thing. So like if they're wearing clothes, like we're trying to get the sound of those clothes rustling in the footsteps. If they have, I don't know, metal or other attachments in them, we want to have that. So there's a lot of opportunities for personality, and especially in Rivals, like where you have a lot of different sized characters as well, you can get a lot of personality in terms of making their sizing show and stuff. There's one issue though with footsteps. Footsteps are a very expensive endeavor in terms of time and work necessary for them, because they get exponential. Like the work for recording and making footsteps for characters grows exponentially when you start thinking about it. So, just to give an example of how those things can happen. First, we can't rely on sound libraries to help us. So sometimes if you're doing a game with humanoid characters, there's a lot of footstep sound libraries out there that if you're in a pinch, you can use them. You don't need to necessarily go out and record for yourself. But not all of our characters are humanoid characters. Not all of our characters are wearing shoes as well. So shoes help a lot. But a lot of the characters are barefoot and they're not human. So that means we need creative, quote-unquote, foley sessions to make footsteps. Really foley? Foley people, please do not kill me for using that word here out of context. But basically, like, for Rivals of Aether 2 having footsteps, we're gonna need to be very creative. So, like, there's some really weird ways that cinema and Foley recorders do for footsteps. So, for example, let's say we're doing characters like Fleet. We could use, like, a leather glove with some attachments to be, like, the nails, basically. And that would be like, we can put that in a hand and use that in the surfaces to make our animal sounds. For Loxodont, that is a very heavy character. And actually, I think footsteps, like this discussion first appeared because people wanted Loxodont to have like those heavy elephant footsteps. Which I also miss, like sometimes when I'm playing Loxodont, I'm like, Loxodont is the character that makes me want footsteps the most. So that's a real thing.
Yeah.
For Loxodont, I think I don't know if I would be able to get this solution specifically, but one solution that I know works is getting a dry trunk, and using that for making his sounds. So it's not a big trunk; it should be a relatively small trunk, but you get a dry trunk, and then you put some leather into it, and then you use that for making footstep sounds for such a heavy character. So yeah, you gotta do that. And you gotta do that for different terrains as well. So every character gonna have different footstep sounds, and then they can have different shoes depending on skin, and then you can do different terrains. And as more stage and stage skins get released, we might have different terrains that we can't reutilize the sound. So to summarize, it's a lot of work. It's a work that I want to do at some point because it's a bunch of personality that the game deserves, but we need to think about a way of not making this a headache for the future. So like we need to think that we're not a giant studio, that we can have someone just focusing on this type of Foley sounds and figure out a way of making this in a way that is sustainable in the long run. So then we don't have characters releasing without footsteps, which is a really important thing.
Yeah,
or skins.
Once they're in, and there'll be no way that everyone will notice if someone doesn't have it.
Yeah, but there are some solutions that we already have in mind. So like, some terrains that instead of having all the terrains, like we have stone, we have concrete, we have wood, we have stuff. Maybe we can have like just two main hard terrains, so like a concrete and I'm actually planning on buying a concrete slab to have at home for recording this. Maybe concrete and wood, and then rock and concrete, they kind of sound similar enough so they can get away. Maybe instead of having actual grass recording or actual sand recordings, we can have like one recording with dirt, and then we just layer sand and grass layers on top if we need grass and sand. So there are ways to make so it's less work and it doesn't grow exponentially to the point where it's inviable. But that requires some time and some tinkering and testing to see if it works. So it's happening, and I'm not gonna give a date right now. It's like it's a planned before of the note board, basically.
Yeah. This isn't on the roadmap, like officially, because there are other important things. But yeah, this would be something that I know you would love to do, and yeah, obviously the community too, and us think it would be awesome when we can do it, get it done. Cool.
Okay, let's get some questions and wrap it up.
Yeah, I saw someone asking about Hey, I'll just read what they have here. It said, you've been talking a lot about how clothes factor into each character's soundscape, I'm sorry. Do you have to account for skins in advance when you're recording?
Yes, and sometimes the fact that some characters are not using clothes, it can be a problem in the process, actually. Because a lot of times when we're doing, once again, when we're doing human characters and human characters are wearing clothes, usually, most of the time, a lot of the movement is made by using clothes sounds. So like the character is moving their arms around, and then we can like take their jacket or a jacket that makes a satisfying sound, and we can make a sound from that to like record the sound from that to kind of paint the movement to help sell the idea of the movement. And this happens a lot with some characters. Like if you listen to a lot of the taunts we have in game, like you can hear that there's a lot of this vibe of like the movement is being painted with the clothes. The Forceborn skin, the Pool Party Forceborn skin that has a custom taunt. Like that custom taunt is a very good example of that. So like when he moves his arm in the second half of the taunt, like you hear the cape flowing, and that is kind of painting the movement in a way. But a lot of Rivals characters, they don't have clothes at all. And that's actually a challenge that we have to face. Like, how do you convey that? Technically, they do have leather in the skins because they're animals. So that leather kinda does make sound, but you need to be a little bit creative to sell movement with these characters that are not wearing clothes. It's not the case with Reina, thankfully. I have an easier time with her.
Yeah, and then you get crazy requests just in general in game design and game making. But I remember when we did the Zetterburn flower mid-month skin, we were like, okay, audio team, make him sound like a flower. And everyone's like, what does that mean? So yeah, you guys get to do some really interesting problem solving that's really creative.
Yes, definitely.
All right, here's another question I see. This game has extremely satisfying impact sounds compared to your competitors. Thank you. Uncle Satan? Such an answer. How do you go about making sounds impactful without going overboard? And what are your inspirations for that? Don't do too long on this one, so we'll try to squeeze in another one or two before the end.
Yeah, impact sounds are the hardest part in the game, honestly, because there's a lot of personal taste involved. It seems like impact sounds are the area where we cannot make everyone happy, in a way. Because games have very different ways of tackling it. We found ours after a lot of trial and error. Like, there's still things that we want to move around. But it's basically like our sounds, was a lot of trial and error. Like sounds were very different in the beta and they're very different now. And we took a lot of listening to feedback and trying to create a point where we got as many people as possible happy with how they sounded, basically, was the goal. Because it's hard. Impact sounds are pretty hard, and they're the main thing in this kind of game. So it took a long time and a lot of trial and error to get here.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to answer a couple non-sound related questions, just as I've seen them pop throughout. People have been trying to make sure we see them. Someone was asking about a workshop guide coming, and I will say we're definitely going to have some kind of documentation. Don't know exactly what that looks like yet, because that's slated for like a 2026 release. But yeah, we did a decent library documentation style for Rivals 1. I'd really like to improve it for Rivals 2, and it's obviously going to be super important to make sure help like people make new characters that are all kinds of skill levels. So yes, we're thinking about this. No, we don't know what it's going to look like, but yeah, we'll have to have some kind of guide, and that's coming out. Another one was about the roadmap. Is it completely locked in, or can community suggestion from the noteboard, for example, for content and features find its way in? And yes, absolutely. That kind of stuff finds its way in literally all the time, every month. Sometimes it's small things. If it's like a giant thing that's gonna go on, have to be like a large commitment of development resources, it will go into like more of a long-term look. But yeah, that kind of stuff happens all the time. Okay, back to a question for you to wrap it up that I think will be good before we say our goodbyes and our shout outs, our friends and family. Someone asked, what was your favorite sound session or like character to record for and work on?
Oh, that's a really interesting. Actually, for a long time in the development process, I wasn't necessarily focused on making new characters. So the only character that has 100% of sounds made by me was Govan. My main focus for a long time has been like updating other characters, skin sounds, and other things that are not characters. And then Matt and Pepe were mainly focused on the other ones.
Oh, I see it.
Matt and Zolioff. But the character that I made sounds for, even if not all of them that I really like Absa. I think Absa just came out amazingly in every single way. I love how Absa turned out. And I know Olympia is one that Matt and Pepe really liked working on. So, and it's not a coincidence that those are newer characters. Like we found our way over time, and we're really happy with the workflow that we figured out for ourselves at this point. So, it's a tendency that every new character feels even better than ever because we learned a lot in the way. Yeah, Olympia. I think for Matt and Pepe would be Olympia, and for me personally, I think Absa just came out sounding amazing.
Awesome. Well, everyone can clearly see the love and all the talent you guys put into the work. I think got a lot of people saying that the sound really stands out in the game, and obviously we think so too on the other studio side. So yeah, it's awesome working with you guys at Moonsailor. Do you have anything else you want to say before we wrap up for the day?
Please, if you know someone who you think would be a great Reina, or if you think you're that person, please send us an audition. And I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's work. And I hope everyone is excited for Reina. It's gonna be pretty fun making her, and I love this character. I think she's gonna turn out amazing.
Awesome. Well, yeah, so we're gonna keep doing these Reina behind the scenes ones each month. They're gonna get some more stuff to see. I think next time we'll have some like model talk and other things. A little farther along, we're gonna do obviously some Galvin dev streams. Galvin's coming out October 7th, and we're gonna do some, I think, a roadmap stream with Matt, our lead producer, to just talk about some of the cool stuff.
Vale, vamos a comentar todo lo que han dicho ahora, ¿vale?
We had Dan and Trevor talk about on stage for like 10 minutes, but obviously it's like 2 or 3 years of stuff we're looking at, so just go into some more detail, answer some more questions and stuff like that. Yeah, I see other questions in chat. I'm sorry we can't get to everything. If you have a super burning question, maybe leave it as a comment on like the stream post we made, and we'll try to get to answer that. But yeah, thanks for tuning in today, everyone. Oh, I see one question I'll answer. They're asking if we'll tease the event. We are going to tease the next event today, and then we'll reveal the next event very soon, for September. It's going to be a fun one. But yeah, okay, cool. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and that's going to be it for us. We'll see you next time. Adios.
Adiós ha dicho, ¿sabes? Pues chicos, vamos a comentar un poco lo que han dicho, ¿vale? Dame un momento. Dame un momentín. Y os explico lo que han dicho. A ver si puedo poner la imagen. No, aquí, agrega la imagen. Pues chicos, básicamente lo que han dicho, que quieren... Han hablado un poco del diseño de personajes de la reina, ¿vale? Han hablado un poco de cómo han hecho los sonidos, han hablado un poco de cosas de sonido como tal, porque está con el diseño de sonido. Y han hablado de que necesitan a alguien que sepa español, inglés, sea mujer, o que tenga voz femenina. Y que si es mejor que sea que tenga acento mexicano, ¿vale? Otra cosa que han hablado también es... ¿qué habían hablado después? Porque... sí, otra cosa que es importante es que yo he preguntado por el chat que qué elemento sería la reina. Y han hablado un poco de el hecho de que podría ser de tierra. Y yo creía que iba a ser de aire, así que es algo raro. No sé si seguirá el directo. Si no, comentaremos algunas cosas. Han enseñado una imagen nueva de la reina, que seguramente la pongamos en la comunidad. Y poco más, han hablado de ello. También tengo que decir que mientras estaba en directo Rivals of Aether, han enseñado el nuevo personaje de Framemakers, que va a ser la de A Hat in Time. Así que bastante chulo. Y poco más puedo comentar por aquí. Espero que haya gustado el stream dev stream. Creo que no haré los dev stream en directo. Yo creo que si sale algo interesante, o sea, yo me los veré. Y si sale algo interesante lo comentaré en algún vídeo. Pero no creo que haga más streams de dev streams. Creo que este será el último. Así que nos vemos en la siguiente, chicos. Chao, chicos. Chau, 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 chau.